Hello everyone, this is Stephen Balch, your instructor for Introduction to Computer Applications at Ozarka College. Today what I'm going to do is give you a little bit of feedback on the Excel Module 3 activities that I finished grading earlier this week. And then also I'll give you some feedback on the Excel production exam that I finished grading this morning. And then I'm going to tell you what we've got coming up due for PowerPoint Module 1. Alright, so the first thing is, like I said, I did finish grading the Excel Module 3 activities earlier this week, and most of you did well on that. Go ahead and read your grading comments and look at your grades for those activities if you haven't already done so. I imagine most of you have already done that, but if you haven't, go ahead and do that. Let me know if you have any questions. There shouldn't be any major issues there because I try to explain exactly what I'm counting points off for, so that you know what type of formatting or formula or function or chart item that you forgot to do. But like I said, if you do have questions after reading through the grading comments, just let me know and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have. So like I said, most of you did well on the Excel Module 3 activities, so keep up the good work on that. Most of you also did well on the production exam for Excel, but there were some common errors that I'd like to kind of very briefly cover. Some of you forgot how to enter multiple lines in the same column or in the same cell of the worksheet. For example, on some of the column titles on the exam, it wanted you to enter the titles on two lines in order to save some horizontal space in the worksheet. And some of you, instead of doing that, you just entered both lines of text on one line instead of using that Alt-Enter technique that we talked about in Module 3 for inserting multiple lines in the same cell. So if you're still having problems with that or remembering how to do that, go back and look at that Alt-Enter technique that's talked about in the module, in Module 3, because, and actually it's also talked about in Excel Module 2, you'll need to study that for the final exam because you'll have a worksheet that'll be very similar to what you just did on your Excel production exam. You'll have a similar worksheet and workbook to do for the final exam, the Excel portion of the final exam. So go back and study that. Let me know if you have any questions about it. Another common error that I noticed was that a few of you just typed in the calculated values into the worksheet where it should have been a formula or a function. So remember, when it says to insert a formula or a function in the worksheet, make sure you actually do that. It's not going to be, it doesn't work to just type in the calculated value. And I've explained why that is previously. The main thing is that when you go to update the worksheet later on, if you have just entered calculated values, then it's not going to recalculate those formulas and functions for you in your worksheet. You know, if you do enter the formulas and functions, then it will recalculate. It will also redo any charts that you have created. But just entering the calculated values really defeats the whole purpose of using Excel and learning how to insert formulas and functions. All right? So if you have any questions about that, just let me know. Another common thing that I noticed a few of you did was when you were formatting the numbers in the worksheet, instead of inserting a floating dollar sign and going through the dialog box, the number dialog box to apply the floating dollar sign, instead you just clicked the currency style button or the accounting style button, and it just inserted the dollar sign in a fixed position at the far left of the cell. And that's not a real big issue, but that is one of the things. It wasn't a lot of points counted off, obviously. It's just a minor thing. But if it says to insert a floating dollar sign, remember you have to go into the dialog box, the number dialog box, and actually specify that. It's not just a button on the ribbon, okay? So just kind of keep that in mind. Also, there were a couple of you that had problems creating the chart or moving the chart. Remember, you have to use the Move Chart button to move the chart, and you have to specify as new sheet to get it to actually create a whole sheet for just the chart. If you just copy it over to a new worksheet, you're going to see all the grid lines behind the chart, and the chart's not going to cover the entire worksheet. So make sure that when it says to create the chart and gives you shows you what the chart should look like, make sure that you compare those and make sure that you do what you need to do to get the chart to look like the example. Okay. All right. So those were the common errors. Just let me know, like I said, after looking at your grade for the production exam, if you have questions about any of the comments that I left, just let me know. Be glad to look at it. All right. The other thing I need to point out today is our next set of activities for PowerPoint Module 1 are due by Sunday, November 2nd. All right. So that's not next week. That's basically the first day of the following week. So this is something that you need to make sure it doesn't sneak up on you, because even though there's nothing due on week 11, which is next week, in this class, you should still be working on the PowerPoint Module 1 activities, which are due the first day of that following week, week 12. Okay, so spend the rest of this week and next week working on PowerPoint Module 1. And most of you probably used PowerPoint before, at least to a certain extent. We'll get pretty in-depth into using PowerPoint, but in this Module 1, it's just a basic introduction to what PowerPoint is, what it's used for, how to create slides, how to change the layout of your slides, how to add text objects and picture or graphic objects to your slides and so forth, and how to format those, position those correctly, and size them. Just make sure that you take your time when working through the PowerPoint assignments, because there is quite a bit of formatting, and I will be looking at the exact dimensions of your pictures, for example, to verify the accuracy of those. It'll tell you what the dimensions should be, both the height and width. Just make sure you specify that for each object that you add to your slide, and also make sure you position the objects in the right place, and check your slides against the examples in the textbook, so that you can verify that you have all the correct formatting done. Okay, and use the smart guides to position the pictures and other objects on your slides. All right. And all of the data files that you need, and you will have some data files like pictures and so forth that you'll need for the assignments, and those are all on each assignment page under resources. All right, so you'll have to right click on each one of those and click save as and save them to your computer, and then when you get to the slide where you're needed, or the instruction where it tells you to insert the picture, you'll need to go to that picture that you saved and insert it in the appropriate place. Okay. Also keep in mind that I do have demonstration videos down here at the bottom of the assignment page, that basically where I take you step by step through the creation of each slide in the presentation, and inserting all of the text objects and graphic objects, and positioning those correctly and sizing those correctly and so forth. So if you're having problems going through the instructions in the textbook, following along with that, use those demonstration videos to show you exactly how to go through the steps. Okay? And that's really all I have for you for today. So be working on those. Like I said, don't wait until week 12 to get started. That's Sunday that they're due, because you're probably going to have other things going on that weekend. And so it's always good to get started early and give yourself plenty of time. And if you have questions, like I said, just let me know. And so I will talk to you next time. Thank you.